Yes, so yesterday, Andrew spoke about creating your files. And at the end, we had a discussion about the importance of managing your files. So if you look at the left column, which, you know, and Andrew took us through the different parts of what you're working in when you're dealing with NVIVO, you'll see that in relation to the files, here's your data, right? You would have created a range of files. And you will see that you can arrange your data. This is what we're talking about. You can arrange your data and say, right, here are all my documents, just as you would a Word file. Here's my documents, but within my documents, I have different types of documents. I have minutes of meetings, I have PDF articles, I have policies. In the minutes of meetings, I have meetings from government, meetings from NGO. In terms of my key informant interviews, I did a key informant interview in Richards Bay. I did one in Amlazi. But you can start to see how you immediately, you can understand your projects, and you're storing your data in ways that helps you to organize and import properly, etc. Now, I just want to very quickly show you why that is important. So if you look at a file, here's all the PDF data as yet. I don't want to go into details of what all these things mean. That is what we're going to do today. But what I do want to show you, that once, why is that important, right? Because when you get to the point where you're looking at it, now this is something you're going to do in the next couple of sessions, but I want to show you just this part where whatever you take from your documents or your picture or your video clips, etc., it tags where it comes from. And I deliberately use this to show you that this particular document says 3766. It's not going to help you if you're working on your project, or if you're working, especially as you grow as an academic and you're dealing with multiple scholars in projects, etc., to remember what 3766 is. But if I said Department of Water Affairs meeting 26 June 2019, then it tells me exactly what it is. That's the reason why we want you to create your files properly, and importantly, to give it a name that is clear, which tells you exactly what the document is about. I hope that is more helpful and clarifies some of the concerns from yesterday.
Thank you, Prof, for that demonstration. I am sure it makes things a lot clearer, especially in terms of making sure that you keep your files more accessible, and you name them accordingly. Andrew, should we commence then with today's session?
Yes, please. We can get started.
All right.
And as you've said in the chat group, it's a continuation of where we stopped yesterday. Unless there's any burning question that somebody want to ask, I will really ask that we continue from where we stopped yesterday. Just a quick brush up of what we did yesterday. I gave a PowerPoint presentation touching on a brief background about NVIVO, what it is and how it can assist you in doing your research. And then we just did a brief exercise with NVIVO, starting with how you open the program, and then how you created folders. Yesterday, I showed you that your document that you'll be working with under this tab called data. Another data, you have files, and here you can create multiple folders, just as Prof has demonstrated. And I showed you how to create the folders yesterday. So, and after that, I showed you how to bring in files into NVIVO, and we brought 4 files into NVIVO, and these are the files. If there is no burning question, I think we can continue from where we stopped yesterday.
Yes, Andrew, I think you should continue because there is no really content-related question right now.
Right. Okay. So we're going to continue from where we stopped yesterday. I've explained to you what a node is and the different ways to create a node. So today we're going to be practicing with different ways that we create nodes, showing you practical examples. As I said yesterday, there are different approaches to creating node, and you need to decide which of these approaches work best for you. So the first one I'm going to show you is the approach whereby if you have an existing, if your work is based on a particular theory, and you know the key variables in that theory beforehand, then you can begin to create the things based on those variables within the theory. So you don't have to read your data or your transcript before you start creating the nodes. You can already begin to do that even before you read your transcript. So to do that, all you need to do is come to this option here. I hope everybody can see my screen. You come to this option here that says nodes.
The screen is visible, Andrew.
Okay, thank you. You come to this option here that says nodes. And if you right click in this blank space here, you are able to create a new node. Okay, so if you click on this, it opens this option for you to be able to create a new node, and you can give it a name. So for example, I can call this node, because I'm dealing with the document that I'm using, it's a State of the Nation address in South Africa. I can call my first folder or my first node poverty, because one would expect that in a State of the Nation address, the president would have touched on issues of poverty. So I'll call it poverty. And if there's a need to describe that node, you can give it a description. If you have a need for a nickname, you can give it a nickname. For this training exercise, I don't have the need for that. And then there is this important option that says aggregate coding from children. Yesterday, remember, I was explaining to you that your node has a kind of a structure, and you have a parent node and a child node. So a parent node is a broad node, and you have children node coming under the parent node. So what this option does is that if you click on this option, any child node that you create will appear in the parent node. So that's what it does. So if I click on this option before I create this node, it means that any child node that I'm going to create under this node poverty will be, the contents of that child node will also feature in the poverty node. And here you can give your node a color. For those who like to make their things fanciful, it doesn't add any difference or make any difference. I'm not that fanciful, so I'm going to leave it at none. And I click on this option, and you can see now that I have created a node called poverty. And it gives you these different options. It tells you file 0. This simply means that I have not coded or I have not moved any material into this node. That's why it is 0. References refers to the number of times that you have coded into the node. So the files here represent the number of files or transcript that you've coded from. Here represent the number of times. So for example, this training, we're using 4 files, but from each of these files, you could code up to 10 times from a single file. So the number here will not necessarily be the same as the number here. And this helps you to have a quick overview of your data. So for example, if we finish coding and I come here and I see under files, I see that it's only 3. That tells me that there is a particular transcript or there's a particular interview that the participant did not say anything about poverty. Or it could be that the person said something about poverty, but I missed it. So I need to double check and go back to that transcript to check. Here it gives you the date. It gives you the person who created the node, and then it gives you the time. So we're going to create another one. So to do that again, remember you right click, you click on new node. We're going to create another node called crime. Again, we can aggregate from coding from children node, and we click on OK, and you continue. You right click, you click on another one, education, aggregate, and then you click on OK. So it continues like that. And it's important to see how your nodes are structured. You can see that all of them at the moment are standalone nodes. So that means that all of these are parent node. So to be able to create a child node for each of these parent nodes, what you need to do is repeat the process that we've just gone through. But instead of clicking on a blank space here, you have to click on the node that you want to create a child node for. So for example, under poverty, we want to create a node for different kinds of poverty. So I click on that, right click on it, I say new node, and I will say chronic poverty as a form of poverty. I don't think that I will have a child node, but if you think you're going to have a child node under chronic poverty, you can click on aggregate again, and you click on OK. If I want to create another child node under poverty, I come back to poverty again, I right click on it, new one, I say relative poverty. I can click on aggregate again from child node, I click on OK. So now you can see visually that the structure of our node is beginning to change. Okay, you see that the structure of the node is beginning to change. You see that you have one parent node called crime, another one called education, another one called poverty. And under poverty, we have chronic poverty, and we have relative poverty. And if we're going to create a children node, for example, under relative poverty and chronic poverty, remember you come back to the node where you want to create the subsidiary node or the child node. If you right click on this, you can click say new node, and we can say relative poverty by gender. I'm just making this up for the purpose of this training. You click on OK, and already you see that the structure is beginning to change. It's important to know that sometimes when you have just opened your file, you will not see the children node immediately. You will have this tab here with something that looks like a plus. Wherever you see that, what it is telling you is that you have a subnode or subnodes under this broad node. So all you need to do is simply click on that. It opens the tab for you, and you can see the nodes that are under that big node. So that is one of the ways, quick ways that that you can create your node. So for example, if you're doing a study about livelihood in rural areas and you're using the livelihood framework, you know what the kinds of livelihood options are, the different kinds of capital that supports livelihood in rural areas. You don't have to read through your transcripts in order to do this. You know what the kinds of capitals are. You just come here, you create them, and then as you go through your transcript, you're coding your data into your transcript, into your nodes. So this is the first ways to create your nodes. I'm going to show you the second way to create your node, and that is what I've just described. Mainly, you have to open your file, you read your file, and then you code the text based on the themes that emerge from your transcript. To do that, remember that your documents are stored under files, and you have to navigate to the particular folder where your documents are stored. So for this training, I've stored my files under individual interviews. So I'll come to individual interviews and I have my documents, all of them lined up here. I have 4 documents. So I double click on any of them and the file will open for me. And the beauty of NVIVO, one of the beauty of NVIVO is that sometimes when you type in, you can make mistakes if you've not edited properly, or as you are reading, you see that there is as an error in your transcript. All you need to do is this option here that says click to edit. If you click on that option, you see that the cursor has become active, and now you can type your text. Because this is a web page, it may look different. Okay. You can see that I'm able to type. You can delete things. So even within this document, you are able to make changes. Okay, so now we are going to do the other way of coding. So for example, let's assume that I'm reading this document or this transcript, the interview that I did with Cyril Ramaphosa, State of the Nation address. I'm reading, and I see something. Okay, here now he's talking about being given an opportunity to deliver the State of the Nation address. The address should have been delivered last week, but was delayed to manage political transition. We are all aware of what happened then. So we could say this aspect of the document is talking about the background or the context in which this speech is given or this interview happened. I'm just making this up as I go. Then all you need to do to code this particular text is highlight the entire text that you want to code. You can even code a single word. You can code a block of texts, an entire paragraph. Let's, for the sake of this training, we highlight all the entire paragraph. And then you right click on this. It gives you different options. Go to the first one that says code. Okay, if you click on that option, it opens this window for you. And the beauty is that it gives you the existing nodes that you have already created. So assuming that I want to code this text into any of these nodes, all I need to do is click on the node where I want to code the text into. So let's assume that here the president was talking about crime in South Africa. All I need to do is I click on this node, and you see that this option, OK, becomes active. I click on OK, and that's all you need to do. It tells you that it has been coded. And how do we check that? You come back to your codes, under nodes, you can see that something has happened here. Okay, under files, it tells you that one document has been coded, and it has been coded once into this document. So that's one way to code. But let's again assume that we have not coded this before, or this is a new node that we're coming across. As I said, context of the speech. Again, you right click after highlighting, you go to code. And then instead of selecting an existing node, because we don't have a node here yet that talks about context of the speech, you come to this option here that says new node. And then you give it a title, context of the speech. And then you click OK. You see that automatically this has been added as a node. And it tells you that it's been coded one time, and this node contains coding from one file and only one reference. It means that it's been coded just once. So that is another way to code. I'm going to show you another example. You continue reading, you read your text, and you come to this place, and he's talking about anniversary of the birthday of Nelson Mandela, and you want to maybe code that as a significant moment in the history of South Africa, you highlight the text, you right-click on the text, you go to code, and because we don't have that node yet, you go to new node. Significant moment in South Africa history. And you click on OK. Another node is coded. Again, you could be reading and you see this text also is about significant moment in South Africa history. For those who like a quick thing like myself, you don't have to right click all the time. If the node is already existing, all you need to do is drag and drop the text. Drag and drop the text into the node that you want to code. And you see that this number here is beginning to change. It tells you that I've coded into this node, significant moment in South Africa history. From 1 files, I've coded 2 times. I continue reading. I see something about a significant moment in South Africa's history. I right click and I drop it here again. You see that this has changed. It means I've coded 3 times from 1 file. So you continue to do that as you read your document. If new idea comes, you create a new node. If it's an existing node, you just right click and paste in the node. So that's one of the ways that you can, the second way that you can code your document. And now that we have started coding our document, remember you can always close your tabs here. The example that Prof was giving before, why it is important to name your files. So if I come to any of these nodes that I've coded into, for example, this one, I double click on it. And this is the strength of NVIVO compared to doing this kind of work in things like your Word or an Excel sheet. So what you see here is a file path. NVIVO tells you where this text comes from. It tells you that it is sitting in files, in a folder called individual interviews, and this is the name of the file. So this is not a static document. It shows the connection. So if I click on this link or on the file path, it takes me to where I have coded, and you see the text that I've coded are highlighted. So with NVIVO, you can move back and forth between where your documents are coded or where they are not coded. Also, another point to remember is that as you can code, you can also uncode. Remember, you can also code the same text multiple times. So this text, it tells me that I've coded. Nothing stops me from coding this very text into, for example, education. Maybe here he was talking about the introduction of the new policy about funding students in South Africa. It's a significant moment. I've coded that into significant moment, but I also want to code it into education. The same block of text, all I need to do is drag and drop into the node called education. So the same block of text, you can code it multiple times, but it has to be relevant to the node that you are coding it into. As I was saying earlier also, sometimes today you're working, you're very enthusiastic, and you're coding the same thing many times. And tomorrow when your head is a little bit cool, you come back, you're reading your notes, going through your notes and reading the text that you've coded. And then you realize, oh no, I think this block of text actually does not belong to this node. Okay, I don't think this belongs here. So you are able to uncode a particular text from a given node. So for example, this one, I can select the whole of this. I right click, and you have a number of options here. It says uncode, okay? If you click on this option, it opens this window and you can choose the node where you want to encode it from. This tells you that here I've coded that block of text under education and under significant moment in South Africa's history. So if I want to encode it from under education, I click on this option, okay? I click on okay, and you can see that under education now we have nothing because we have just encoded the text from there. But it is still coded under significant moment in South African history. Instead of going that route, you can also come to the node and you select the entire block of text that you want to encode. You right click and you say encode from this node. I want you to encode this text from this particular node. So that's another way to encode. So remember, you can code the same text multiple times into different nodes. You can encode the same text also from different nodes. So that is a second way to code your data. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to open another file and then show you also how to do the coding so that we see our documents as the coding changes. We come back to where our files are stored. You see that this tells us that this particular file we've been working on is been coded 4 times. There are 4 codes and there are 6 references. It means that it's been coded into 4 nodes, okay, and coded 6 times. And it gives you the person who coded the document. As I said yesterday, assuming you're working in groups, and when you merge your data, you want to see who created which code. So here, this is the abbreviation for my name. So now we want to open this document as well from former President Jacob Zuma. We open it, you read, and remember you need to open your notes. Okay. Something else that I need to show you, you can change how this window looks. Right? You can change it to look differently. So you have your notes up and you have your files down. Okay. But for me, this is the preference. This is my preference. I prefer to have it here. So I look at the text and I said, okay, this is about context of the speech. I can drag and drop there. Things are beginning to change. I look at this text. I say, this is about education. I drag and drop. I'm not reading. I'm just showing you how this works for this purpose of this training. I say, okay, this is about chronic poverty, and it's important for you to watch what happens here, okay, and see the value of why we say when you are creating a parent node that is going to have children node, click that option that says aggregate from child node. So watch what happens here. Keep an eye on this option that says poverty. So we're going to code into chronic, and you see that chronic poverty and poverty, both of them change at the same time. What this means is that what I have coded here also is present in this node, because at the later stage when you are going through your data, you might not want to open both chronic poverty and relative poverty. You want to have an overview of poverty as a whole. So all your data that you have in chronic poverty and in relative poverty, you have all of them featured in this place. So I'm going to close this file. I'm going to open another file and code from that file as well. Remember, you have to open your node for those of you who like to drag and drop like me. If you don't like to drag and drop, remember I told you you can highlight your text. You right click and you say code. It opens this window. You select the node where you want to code it into. If there's no existing node, if it's a new node, you can click on this option that says new node. So let's say we're going to code that into education. We click on OK, it's coded. We continue, we want to code this into relative poverty. I want to code into relative poverty. Here is our relative poverty. And let's even make it complicated, relative poverty by gender. You click on that, it is coded there, and you see that relative poverty has also changed automatically because it is a parent to this child node. Okay, I tried explaining this using the principle of genetics once, and I failed woefully. So I'm not going to attempt to give that explanation here. But just note that whatever you see in a child node will also appear in the parent node. If you click that option that says aggregate from child node into parent node. At this stage, Upasana, are we on time to take a break? I think I've given quite a bit of information.
Thanks.
And I don't know if there are questions being asked.
Perhaps we could open the floor to any questions. If anybody has any questions, they could type it out in the chat facility, or if they prefer to talk to us, they can raise their hand so I can unmute you.
Can I just say something, colleagues, before we take a break?
Please do, Prof.
Yes, while we're waiting for some questions or issues for clarification, in terms of identifying the nodes or the themes, I think a challenge that a lot of researchers and students in particular face is, where do you get the themes from? So I'm going to ask the questions. I'm a very interactive person, so this is very difficult for me to do. But can some of you give a possible answer to that question in the text box? Where do you get your themes or your nodes from?
All right, Prof.
Any takers?
Prof, we have a hand.
I'm challenging you a bit.
We had a hand up. Jerusha, your mic is unmuted if you'd like to speak.
Okay, we've got it going up now from your research objectives. That's a good start. You're getting there, theoretical framework. Any other takers? Right. So I think to perhaps save some time, note that this part of research, the collection of the data, the managing of the data, the using NVIVO to assist you with the thematic analysis, which is probably the main basis in which qualitative analysis takes place. It is not something that happens in a vacuum. You have developed a proposal, you have key objectives or research questions. That in itself guides you into these are the themes. I'm looking at success factors among first-year students. So success factors would be my theme. What would be some of the success factors? Where would you be getting that? Yes, Rashil, from your theoretical framework, but your theoretical framework, etc., is largely embedded in the literature review, that you have to understand this topic. You have to understand what other researchers have done, what have been their findings. So from the literature, if you look at success factors, it might be key indicators of success factors is performance in matric. Others might be the degree or program enrolled in, the extent to which the university provides support. All of that comes from you doing your work, doing the literature review, embedding yourself and understanding. And as Andrew has shown, from where you act in the research, remember also qualitative research. It is very unwise to employ researchers to do qualitative research. Employ somebody to say, go do my key informant interviews or do this. I do, as I said, Andrew and I do both types of research. For the quantitative research, during the 2010 FIFA World Cup, for example, we interviewed 30,000 fans across the country. Obviously, I wasn't there for every single interview, But that is fine because you're collecting systematically data using a structured survey. But for qualitative research, you should be there because it's not only a transcript that's going to tell you things about an issue. It could be body language. It could be context. It's a lot of aspects that you've got to be able to interpret and delve into. And that's the reason why NVIVO allows you, every time you create a node, every time you create a file, it allows you to write nodes to bring that context and to bring that voice in as well. But when you're dealing with the data, more themes may emerge that you did not anticipate. And please get very excited when you see that. When you've read the literature, you've looked at things, you understand what your themes are going to be, and then new themes emerge, because those themes can result in you being able to substantiate how your study has contributed to knowledge. Those might be themes that are contribution to knowledge and you can write papers on. So get excited when new things arise. And that's why Andrea showed you how you can add a theme even while you are going through the documents that you've imported. I hope that is helpful, because a lot of times you thumb sucking, and we don't thumb suck in research. Even qualitative and quantitative research, we are different from journalists, we're different from politicians, because we look for evidence to substantiate our choices and to substantiate the way in which we interpret information. I see there's no questions or responses. I don't know if Andrew is doing such a good job, or you're so confused that you lost completely.
It is hard in a virtual environment, Prof. I know I run training sessions and it is difficult for both the presenters and the participants because that interaction isn't there. But we seem to have one hand up here. Jerome has a question. Jerome, your mic has been unmuted. Can you please raise your question?
Thank you, thank you. It's about the text that has already been coded into the node. Now, if you go back to the original document, how do you trace back in which node that text has been coded? I'm not sure if I'm clear.
Andrew, you want to take the first go at it, or you want me to try and provide some clarity?
You can go ahead, Prof.
Yeah, so Jerome, I might be misunderstanding you, but don't jump the gun too quickly, because we're still teaching you the technical part.
Okay.
Once you do all your coding, I think we both, Andrew and I tried to show you in the beginning that every single extract that you've coded against a node, you'll be able to see all of them together. So you'll be able to do that link. You also will notice that once you highlight in the document, so when Andrew was doing the highlighting, or you playing with your document, and Upsana make a very good point, because in a face-to-face training, we would have been walking around and we can actually see you doing the wrong thing. We don't know what you're doing. We're hoping that you're following us at the moment. So it is difficult to do the training. But when Andrew was highlighting and then and coding and attaching it to a particular node or theme, you'd see that it was highlighted. So that in the document itself, if you open the document, you can trace everything that you coded and where you coded it from. Plus, when you open the node, the theme, like if you open poverty, all of it will come. The actual extract you've taken will be shown, link to that, and it will tell you which document it came from and where it is sitting in your file, which is why we told you pay attention to how you create the files and how you actually name the files. And finally, as Andrew will show in more detail, that particular, as you do a code, it's recording it in like the table. Remember he said one, and it's referenced so many times, etc. That also gives you a feel of how much of a theme is being covered in terms of the coding you are doing. Is that helpful, Jerome?
Yes, Prof, it's helpful, yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, let me try and share my screen and see if this explains, if I understand your question correctly, if this explains what you're asking. So you go through your documents, you see a particular text that has been coded. Remember, you can, I have not shown you that. I think you're taking us a few steps ahead. You can actually select from these options here to highlight the text that have been coded. Okay, so for example, if I say recent coding, it gives me highlight. It shows the stripes here, the sections that have been coded. I can set that to none. But to answer the question that you are asking, if you come to this one that says highlight, and you say coding for selected items, this window that opens tells you the nodes that have been coded for this very document. Okay, so you are reading, you know that this is related to a particular theme. You can choose that option. Let's say education, and you come here and you go through your document. If that text is about education, it will be highlighted. If it is not about education, it will not be highlighted. So that's the quick way to check whether your document, the text that you're looking at has been coded for a particular item or has not been coded for a particular node. I'm not sure if that answers the question you asked.
Yes, I understand. You see where your cursor is now? Let's say,
yes.
Good evening, Sanibonan Molweni. If I click on that, will it be able to take me to the nodes?
No, the links are not here. Remember, the links are created in nodes. The nodes take you back to the file.
Oh, okay.
But it's not the other way around. So if we come to our nodes, remember you click on node and you open your node here, it gives you the file path.
Yes.
So this is what takes you back to the document where it is. So if I click on this now, it takes me back to the document where I coded that text. But from here, you can't go back to the node. It's not that way. It's the other way around, from node back to your document.
I follow. Thank you.
Right. I don't see any other action. I think we can take our break now. 10 minutes. Sana?
Sorry, there's a question from Bless.
Okay.
Sana, unmuted, Bless?
Yes, Bliss, you have been unmuted. You can raise your question.
Bless disappeared.
No, he's here.
Okay.
Still around. Okay. Sorry.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would love to convey my greatest gratitude for this workshop. It's so helpful. I can see where is it going to. My question is that under the circumstance that we all facing this pandemic COVID-19, is it possible post this unpleasant situation to have a face-to-face interaction? I know it's difficult for now, but I feel that it's so important and it's probably going to really help most of us. I'm following it through, but at the very same time, it's easy to get lost. Meanwhile, we're doing via Zoom. So I understand that the Department of Education has actually, suggested that 33% of the students will have to go back to the campus. So if I may request, post this probably in July, August, whatever it can be, to have a face-to-face so that we can practicalize it. Thank you.
Yes, I can answer that question as the dean on behalf of the other college deans as well. That yes, that is how we did it in the past. We've run several training in previous years, and we will continue to do so because it is face-to-face training is much more helpful. And thankfully, we've got colleagues like Andrew and other colleagues who are willing to assist. They don't get paid extra, so it's quite amazing. Andrew, it gave me warm feelings to hear baby cry because we invading your space. So thank you so much for having us and teaching us. But we will do more face-to-face training. I should, however, say bless that we're paying particular attention to the training of supervisors because it concerns us severely that you are doing research where supervisors don't have the capacity to help you in what are relatively basic things. It's become the norm. If you do qualitative research, you should be able to use a qualitative program. If you're doing statistical research, you should be able to use a statistical program. So we're really, really focusing on building supervisor capacity because my students, they just learn all these things as we go along. And that's just the culture of being supervised, and we want to change that and invest in supervisors because then or as many, let me not say all, but as many of your needs as a student is met, and then we provide complementary support as and when needed. So we're training a lot of supervisors as well. Yeah. Sana, should we take that break now?
Thank you.
Yes, we can take the break. I just want to tell participants that are attending that if you are working on NVIVO yourself and you feel that you're facing a problem with the way in which you're doing something on your side, on the screen itself, you are able to share your screen. If you raise your hand, you can then share your screen so that Andrew can help you, and that will at least try to bring that feel as if you are in a face-to-face environment so that he can help you through the problem that you're facing at the point at which you're facing it. So if you do feel you're having an issue and you want to share your issue with us so that either Prof. Bob or Andrew can assist you in any way, you're welcome to do so. Andrew, should we reconvene at 3 o'clock again? It's 14:52.
Yeah.
Yes, that's perfect.
All right, everyone, we'll have a short break.
Okay, thank you.